Okay, now, how often do you think to yourself, okay, just the one glass of wine tonight, or maybe, okay, I'll only drink at the weekends. Often it's after a particularly heavy session, or maybe as part of a New Year's resolution. Well, the man you're about to meet decided at the start of 2016 that he wanted to drink less, and it was an idea that set in motion what would have become an app called 101 Tokens. It gives users 101 alcohol tokens to use throughout the year, and it's the brainchild of Benny Wallington, and he joins us on the line now from Sydney. Benny, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, SJ.
Yeah, great stuff. And I must apologise, Benny. We were supposed to have you on last week, but I don't know if you've been following the news in South Africa. We were having some breaking news in our political sphere. So about half an hour before you were due to come on, our former president, or president as he was then, resigned. So I'm afraid it was all stations go, and we had to move you to this week. So thank you for accommodating us, and apologies we couldn't get to you last week.
No problem.
Good stuff. Okay, sir. What was it then about your drinking that made you think it was time to regulate it?
Yes, I was living in London at the time, and the culture there is quite a heavy drinking one. I mean, it was just affecting my health, well-being and work life. So I thought it was time to make a change. That's why I came up with the sort of restricting myself to drinking under twice a week and really reflecting on every time I drank and whether it was worth it or not, which has now developed into an app which makes it easier for the community to do that.
So what was the process? You kind of recognised that actually things were getting a little bit sort of unmanageable. And then how did you get to 101 tokens from that thought process?
I guess the thought process was after drinking for 3 days, in London in a row on the 3rd of January, and I was just a bit fed up, and I was turning 30, and I thought it's time to make a change. I wrote down a bunch of rules, which were the 101 token rules, put them on the internet to make sure that it was validated and people saw that I was committing to something. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. It was just really just a lifestyle change that I needed to make, and it turned out to be a good one.
So explain this to me. One sip of alcohol is one token, but a whole night out drinking is also one token. Yeah,
so I guess the rules were made by me to accommodate me initially because it was just me doing it the first year.
Yeah.
So the sip of alcohol is really just to stop that one drink because I'd always find myself, and so do a lot of people, going to the pub for one.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay, but a lot of times that turns into 2, 3, 4. And there's actually a fair bit of research out there now that if you drink a certain amount of time before bed, you need to give yourself half an hour at least to fall into full REM sleep. So that was the kind of thing I was doing, having one drink before bed, thinking that was the ideal thing to do when it wasn't great. But then to answer the other part of the question, in terms of the whole night out, I didn't want to restrict my nights out. I wanted to go out and have a good time. But the kicker there is the fact that every time you do go out and have a good time, referencing it in the morning makes you mindful of the fact that it was worth it or it wasn't worth it. And when it's not worth it, that gives you an opportunity to change your habits.
How did you come up with the figure of 101?
101 was easy. I guess I was drinking almost 5 times a week, and I wanted to get down to twice a week. And that would be 104, so I just decided 101 sounded better and it was a harder challenge. So, that's where it came from. It's a catchier number.
Yeah, it is a catchier number. So how does the app work in practical terms then? I download it on my phone and then what do I do?
Yeah, it's really simple. Like we've built it so it's amazingly simple. So people don't have to spend a lot of time on it. All you're really doing is you're going into the app, you're entering what you were doing, where you were doing it, a little description if you wish, and then whether it was worth it or not. But that has to be in the past. The trick with the app is you can't actually lodge a token until the day after, because if we were allowed to do it during the night, you probably always think it was a good night.
Yeah, I like that idea. You refer to users as smart drinkers. What is smart drinking?
Mm-hmm. Well, smart goes hand in hand with mindful. So obviously when we start out, we might not disclose that or say that we're smart drinkers just yet. But through the community and the information that I give people and allowing them to go on their own journey with the app and defining what they feel is smart drinking or serving them best, once they get to the point of like that realisation, that's when I guess we can call them smart drinkers. It means they're not giving up completely, they're just doing it in a more mindful way.
So I suppose a lot of it depends largely on people being truthful, first of all. Otherwise, very little point in doing it. But I mean, and I should just say, because I don't think I've pointed this out, the 101 tokens is from January to December.
Yeah, so that is kind of it's not the hard and fast rule. Like people who join late can do pro rata. If they've got fantastic memories, they can count back. But that was kind of how the whole thing came about. It was a New Year's resolution originally.
Yeah.
So we've just been running with that. But then we've not been stopping people from joining the community because all the information and everything is important. And we're also developing a bit of a shorter 10-week course, which will be coming soon, which is just for people who maybe find doing a whole year worth of changing a habit a bit daunting. Yeah. And the reason why we picked 10 weeks is because out of the College of London University, their latest findings about how to break and change a habit is 66 days to officially do that. So we want to keep the science in it. And just from having done this for 2 years, I have noticed that you really can actually change a habit faster than a whole year. But it's just a really nice thing to actually complete a New Year's resolution because, well, for me, that was the first time I'd ever done it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think it's the same for a lot of people.
We're joined on the line from Sydney by Benny Wallington, who is the brainchild of this app called 101. That would be serious liver failure. Called 101 Tokens, which essentially helps you regulate your drinking. What sort of response are you getting, Benny?
Yeah, so this year it's just exploded. Last year was really all about just trialling the 101 tokens with a crew, so that was about 100 of us, which was really nice. And this year, with the app development and speaking to people like yourselves and getting a bit of media and some really good conversations going, we've hit almost 10,000 downloads on the app. So the community's really just exploded in the last sort of month or so, which is great because that means that we just hit 25,000 tokens that had been put into the system as well, which means that there's 25,000 times that people were actually thinking about their drinking rather than just like fobbing it off like we tend to do. There's been some cool milestones so far and still growing.
You mentioned that you came up with the idea, or it sort of came to you while you were living in London. And as you say, you're quite right. London does have a really hectic drinking culture. What's the situation in Australia? Is it comparable to London?
Yeah, most definitely. We've got really similar drinking cultures, and it's kind of especially if you're working in the cities. It's kind of the trend to go out for a beer after. I feel like having worked in both London was slightly more on trend to go drinking, but I've also worked in the mining industry in Australia, and that's very similar in terms of finish work, go put away a few beers, and that's kind of the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? Where do you think that the app can go from here? What are your hopes for the app from this point on?
What I'd really love to do is change the face of Australia's drinking culture at first because I'm here, but I've got a lot of people who've signed up in South Africa and the UK as well. Really, really try and change this perception of what our drinking cultures are because they're so negative. A lot of the time in the media, all we're hearing is the negative stuff. But there's a lot of brands and there's a lot of people who are starting to push into this space of mindful drinking where people can really enjoy their alcohol, whether that's with lower ABV drinks or 0% drinks are becoming huge on the market, or just having a couple instead of having 10, 15. I think with becoming more health conscious and the way we're moving as a group of people, it makes a lot of sense to push it along faster.
I'm fascinated by it. I think it's, I don't drink, but I used to. But I mean, for me, it was necessary to stop completely. But I do know people who drink socially, and that's fine for them. But who have, exactly as you said, kind of, got to sort of Thursday and thought, crikey, it's Thursday and I've already, had a glass or two every night. And so to have something, to be able to monitor, in that way, I mean, you've come up with something here, Benny. Well done.
Thanks a lot.
I'm intrigued to see. It wouldn't work for me because I don't drink, but it's available to download from anywhere in the world, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you can access it via the App Store, both for Apple and Android, or you can go to 101tokens.com and sign up there, because not everyone likes to use apps, so it's really handy just to join the community, and that's all free. So, yeah, feel free to jump online and join us.
Wonderful stuff. Benny, real pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck with the app in the future.